Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good considering, you know.
Yeah.
I, you know, I, I guess we just might as well come up with what we've been up to for the last couple of hours. We've been seeing the latest programming from HBO Max. Dropped a little Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay. So, where they're at? So they dropped. There was Wonder Woman. There was
The little things,
the little things.
which
I'm not including, even though they did drop Justice League. I'm not going to include that in this one because that was always going to come out on HBO Max. So technically, Godzilla versus Kong would technically be the third HBO that they said that they're dropping on HBO Max instead of theatrical.
yeah, yeah. So let me ask you. After seeing it, would you have wanted to see this movie in the theater?
Hell no. But but to be fair, I would have because I think you're always hoping that the people wouldn't get in the way. And you know
The
what? The
people
people
always get
always
in the
get in the
way.
way. You think they would have learned from Godzilla, King of Monsters, that nobody cared. Nobody cares about the people in a monster movie. In a Godzilla or Kong film, nobody cares about the people.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because after seeing this, I sat there the whole time going, geez, this would have been so much better if it wasn't for the people.
For the people.
If the people. In fact, my suggestion is if they ever do a Kong movie or even a Godzilla movie again, just do it without people. Just have them, because
Yes.
actually they're the most interesting part, right?
Hmm.
Now the effects have got. I mean, I will say this movie has amazing special effects. The effects
Hmm.
of Kong and Godzilla. I mean, I don't know if it can get any better. Really, I mean, it looked terrific.
You
Um,
mean you don't think it could ever get any better than guys in costumes shooting in those old Japan films? You felt like that needed improvement?
no, I'm just saying the effects themselves. But
Right.
it's interesting that you say that because after the movie was over, we went back and we looked at some of the old Godzilla movies where you
Hmm.
got guys in costumes, and I gotta say, I had more fun watching those.
You know why?
Why is that?
Because the monsters had personalities. And also we focused on those monsters for a good portion of the movies. See, I think the they had it right when they did those all those Godzilla movie. They knew Godzilla was a star, and the monsters were the stars. So they kept the people at bare minimum. Either they're yelling Godzilla and running, or they're dealing with an alien crisis. The plots were always goofy, but the monsters were always interesting.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
cared. You cared. It was like watching a Godzilla movie back in the old days. Was kind of like watching a wrestling match or
It
something.
was awesome. It was like, and
I
I
mean,
remember as a kid when I would see, when I would see one of the old Godzilla movies,
mhm.
you would hang out with your friends and say, "Oh yeah, when Godzilla hit Mothra," and they,
Right.
and we would always. I remember we would always specify like the drop kick or something like that. There's always
Yeah,
a
yeah,
move that one of
yeah.
the monsters did that was so totally cool that we were like, oh, that was the best thing ever.
Well, Godzilla would do a move like that. I mean, I can't remember what movie, but there was a move where Godzilla would run, and then he would do like two side kicks, but his tail would still glide him through, so that he'll end up hitting the other monster. And then we just saw one just later, where I think Godzilla was doing like some kung fu moves, and
Right.
they were so original on the way that they treated Godzilla. um, and I think that's the problem with these new Godzilla movies. You don't really get too much personality out of Godzilla. Yes, the special effects are better, but the plot isn't. It's
Well,
gotten
yeah, the
worse.
plot, yeah, it's like once again, just take away the people, Please, just do the monsters. But okay, let's talk a little bit about the movie. Actually, I kind of like the way it started out. I like the way it started out with Kong waking up on Skull Island, and kind of doing his morning routine. I could have watched. I could have watched 20 minutes of that. Actually, I said, yeah,
You
let's
mean you
see
could have
what
watched
Kong does during the day.
20 minutes of Kong scratching his ass, waking
Hey,
up?
well, it's
We can relate. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is interesting too because, yeah, you're kind of getting one. It was like for one brief moment, you get a minute of seeing what Kong does on Skull Island. You know how he wakes up, his morning routine. I guess he uses the waterfalls to shower, and
yeah.
only and only for gimmick because when at the moment that one. Okay, by the way, this is spoilers, and to be
Yes.
honest,
Spoiler alert.
to be honest, there's not going to be that much that nobody would be surprised about, but it's spoilers, okay?
Yeah.
Spoilers. But yeah, so you go through that whole minute of going through Kong's routine, and for that one moment, there's a little bit of hope of going, oh wow, they're starting off with Kong, and we are really a little bit invested in him, and then you get hit with the first
With
plot point, which is he's in captivity.
not
Going,
since the
nah.
13th floor have you ever been so shocked.
And then they did their opening, and you said something when we were watching. You remember what you said when they're trying to give you the histories of all the movies that you've seen before, from the first Godzilla, from Kong, Skull Island.
Yeah, here's a note to filmmakers for the future films out there, okay? When you do your credit sequence, do not do the headlines from newspapers and photographs anymore. It doesn't work, all right? Whatever backstory you think you are like cutting corners on, or whatever backstory you think you are getting in there that's going to like inform your audience, forget about it, because honestly, we don't give a shit. I very rarely ever look at those headlines. I mean, at the end of it, I'm going, oh, so we were supposed to know all of this because I looked at the credits? And they always come flashing at you, and it's like strobe
Mm-hmm.
effect kind of thing. Like, ooh, see how exciting it is. And
But see, but I always take that as, oh, okay, that's a moment where I could adjust my seat at the theater. I can go right out to the lobby and get salt for my popcorn, maybe fill up on my drink.
you're getting situated in your
You get
seat,
it, yeah.
you're sitting there.
Oh yeah, because the film is telling you that we're going to tell you the plot. We're not going to show it to you. We're going to tell you. I think one of the biggest. I think the line that Rebecca Hall says to someone right off the bat. I mean, this is before the opening credits. It's, oh well, Godzilla's coming for him. And I remember going, what? Wait a minute. First of all, she knows who Godzilla is, and how does she know Godzilla's coming for Kong? I'm in a minute. I'm in a minute of a movie, and I know that's going to happen. But the fact that the film felt the need to tell the audience that Godzilla's coming for Kong, and then in that opening you're talking about where they're flashing a newspaper, they're constantly showing King Kong over here, you got Godzilla over here, and they're facing each other in the newspaper, and it's the battle that's coming, and it's almost like, guys, where's the foreplay? Come on.
Well,
Come on.
yeah,
I mean, take me out to
guess,
dinner first, What the hell?
I guess these monsters have some intuition that that there's an alpha out there, and they gotta go prove that you're the top dog of the planet. I guess.
Yeah, I missed the discovery. I like the idea that at one moment, okay, look, I hate to compare it to the original King Kong versus Godzilla. God knows it's been forever since I've seen it, but I always just remember that at one moment you were in a King Kong film because they treated it like a King Kong movie. But then when you cut away, oh wait a minute, we're in a Godzilla movie because Godzilla would show up and you're doing all the tropes that you were having in a Godzilla movie, and then it was that excitement of going, wait a minute, it's the same movie. So you know that eventually they were going to find a way to get together. And when that happens, it's kind of like exciting.
Yeah, I always heard in that original Godzilla versus Kong film back in the day, didn't they do two different versions where like King Kong won one for the Americans and then Godzilla won for the Japanese? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that because the version we saw, King Kong won.
Right.
And
Did you ever
so
see
that
the
was it.
version where Godzilla won?
I never saw the Japanese version where Godzilla won, but it makes sense. And really, that when you look at the first Godzilla movie, that was an allegory of when they dropped the bomb. That first movie was
Right.
actually played more serious.
Raymond
And
Burr. Yeah.
who's like in what 10 minutes of them, never left Hollywood, and they
Yeah,
were
just
able to
spliced
splice
him
him
in
into that
there. So,
movie.
you know.
I know you got to have a white American in there, and then King Kong. And King Kong was obviously American because they went to his island and they captured him and they brought him over to America. I don't know. America has a tendency to go to another country, a continent, and bringing. They're used to taking shit that doesn't belong to them. So anyway,
Okay.
but that was the way it went. So King Kong was American, Godzilla was Japanese. I would love to see the Japanese version of that. I'm sure that
Right.
would have been fun. And I think in that one, it was pretty simple. Godzilla was always interesting monster because at times he was a monster that you had to deal with, and at other times he was a hero because he was going up against worse monsters, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But I think in that movie, in the original Kong versus Godzilla, he was the bad guy. He was the one fucking up stuff, and then they
Right.
sent Kong in to
Well, kind of like
take him
this
out.
movie, right? Similar to this
Mm-hmm.
film.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I will say that they meet earlier. If I say 20 minutes within the plot, they first meet. It's in the trailers when Kong is on the boat and Godzilla's coming at him. But let me ask you this: if you can explain in I'll give you 5 minutes or less what the plot was in this movie. Could you
oh my
tell me what the
God.
plot was?
Well, yeah. Well, okay. It's pretty simple, I guess. You know, Godzilla's going around wreaking havoc, and they're trying to figure out a way to stop it. So they think Kong is the answer. And but you know, they even have this whole Hollow Earth thing, which is okay. That's out there. Okay, it's a Godzilla Kong movie. I can roll with it. In fact, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't want to get too harsh on this film really because it is what it is. You know, it
Yeah.
is what it is. So I tried to put the 8-year-old cap on and just enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
for what it was and not to
Right.
get too deep in it and everything. Like, but you know, yeah, I would like a little bit of a story, I guess that makes somewhat sense. I think
Can
that
we get can we get a story with no people in it?
I think it would have been much better. I really do think that the most interesting characters in it were King Kong
Right.
and Godzilla. The biggest
Mm-hmm.
problem with when you bring in the people in it is that they're so cliche. I mean, it's
Yeah.
funny. All your main characters. Did you notice that all your main characters in this movie have dead relatives? You know, they
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
wife that died. They have a
Yeah.
brother that died. You
Yeah.
know, or
A mother that
their
died.
parents died, or their mom died.
Yeah.
Everybody that had, you know, their backstory involved a dead relative of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm going,
Yeah.
okay,
Everything. You know how you know that there was a dead relative, is that somebody else told you. You never. They don't have
right,
time to. They don't have time to set it up. You don't get a
no,
chance to see these people living any kind of actual life because they got to rush it so we can get to the main event. And okay, and you're right. You're right. I think when you watch a movie like Godzilla and King Kong, fuck plot. There is no plot. The plot is just getting those creatures together and fight. Because honestly, I couldn't explain what I was watching, but I think the thing that's just frustrating is the most interesting thing is the creatures. Let's just spend more time with the creatures, and why not just keep it simple? I always feel like you said, they did. You had there was a hollow. There was a plot about some yada yada yada, and some
there's
guy
some
yada yada
energy.
yada.
There's
Yeah, there's an
yeah, the whole
energy
thing was Mecha
something.
Godzilla, right? Because that's the big surprise that I guess they kept
Yeah,
that to their vest that there's
the
actually a
worst
Mecha
surprise
Godzilla.
ever. Not since Doomsday and Batman v Superman, or not since John Harris was Khan in Star Trek.
Yeah, so Mecha Godzilla needs, I guess, a super powerful energy source that is only found inside Middle Earth. Hollow Earth. I mean,
Okay,
Hollow Earth,
but
not
yeah,
Middle Earth.
not Middle
Hollow
Earth
Earth.
because you got
Yes, Hollow
hobbits.
Earth.
Now, I would
Yes.
have liked to see that movie. I think
Yeah.
you just hit on it. I think what was missing from this movie is if they had to go to Middle Earth to get this power source for Mega Godzilla. Holy crap, dude!
And
You solved it.
that would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. Godzilla versus King Kong versus Mega Godzilla versus the Hobbits. You made a
It
better
made
movie,
more
dude.
sense.
Well, no. So I guess they went to the center of the Earth.
The center of
The
the
center
Earth
of
to
the
find
Earth.
this,
Okay.
which just so happens to be Kong's ancestral home,
birthplace.
I guess.
I
Not
guess.
his real
Yeah.
home, or was
Right.
what? See, that's another thing that they didn't quite explain. I'm guessing that he's never been there, but I guess his ancestors were from there, right?
But they never explained that to you because
No.
the first thing they said is he's home. So
Right,
I guess
which
it is
he's never been there.
possible. Or he left.
Well,
or
that'd be
something.
like taking me back to Ireland. That'd be like taking me back to Ireland and go, "You're home now, Lee." So they go down there and he finds the magic, I guess, a magic axe that has the superpowers inside there. Wait a minute. Now we got to talk about the daughter of the guy that created Mechagodzilla that brings these special vehicles that can actually withstand the gravity and the pressure of Hollow Earth.
Or what you mean is magic cars.
The
Because
magic cars that can do anything that the screenwriter needs them to do.
Yeah, they fly, they hover, they go at warp speed, they do whatever the hell you want them to do. It's just like you're trying to figure out what's going on, and at some point you check out of it. So,
and they have that actress playing the daughter that's from Dusk to Dawn, and she was in Baby Driver and stuff, and which I liked her in those, but in here it's almost she was just there to kind of like get on everybody's nerves. She was just being like mean and nasty, like the mean girl or something. She just had nothing to do in this thing except just be mean, right? Her whole character arc is she brings the vehicles and is mean and dies. So that's why she. But you even had her father, right? There was no connection between her and her father. I don't think they even had a conversation, did they?
Well, no, they didn't have a scene.
No, they had no scene together. So
no,
outside the fact that she told him that she was his daughter.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
you would not.
That was it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in the movie like this, you've got the rich guy. The richest guy there is usually the bad guy, and he's usually doing something shady and stuff. And then they get the guy from True Blood.
Oh, Skarsgård, his brother. Yeah. Well, he had a brother who died, right? The brother who died.
Exactly.
That was his backstory. He had the brother that went to Hollow Earth before him and didn't make it. He died.
I really wish he went to Middle Earth. How cool would that have been? So of course, he's going to say, "Well, I know a girl, and it's the Rebecca Hall girl that we introduced in the beginning of the movie because she's monitoring Kong." And there's this little girl.
They call her the Kong Whisperer. Is that right? The Kong Whisperer or something like that. Which technically she's not the Kong Whisperer, right?
No,
she's not the Kong Whisperer.
Deaf girl. It's the little deaf girl.
The little girl, yeah. Which honestly, okay, if you were going to keep a person in the movie, if there was one person you were going to keep the movie,
yes. Well, first of all, she was actually she was the best actress in the whole thing. And second of all, she didn't talk. She only communicated. She did sign language with Kong, and actually, there was one moment in the movie where he does sign language back, and I thought, that could have been developed into something actually meaningful instead of a kind of another plot device. And honestly, that would have, that's how you open it up. Nobody else is on that island, and then you see their relationship, and then all of a sudden, that relationship gets ruined by man. Who shows up on the island?
Well, because you figure that what a nice little story that would have been if she lived there with her parents, but they got killed.
And Kong was protecting the little girl.
Yes,
and they had a bond, so you could have had a good 10 to 20 minutes of that relationship being, and you could intercup that with whatever Godzilla's doing on the other end, and also, there's a whole subplot that with the whole Millie Bobby Brown, and they're the exposition team. that's constantly saying, like, they know what Godzilla's thinking. So
Yeah, I mean, Bobby
obviously,
Brown, and she's totally like pro Godzilla. She's like, no, Godzilla can't do
oh
no
yeah,
wrong, even though he
oh
did
yeah.
kill a lot of people in that Armada. I'm sorry, a lot of people
Well, he
died in
did,
that Armada. Yeah,
but it's not his fault because
yeah,
they were building Mega Godzilla, and he was trying to stop them.
yeah,
And those
yes.
people got in the way. But
They
then
had to go.
why was he going after Kong? Because they kept saying he's
Well, he
coming
was the
after him.
alpha, right? Because he had to be alpha. Because they just do that. That's
Uh
what they do. That's what these titans do.
oh
They had to fight
well,
each
yeah.
other because they had to prove who's the boss.
Because they said it. You're right. I remember some lines where they said the alphas always have to fight each other. It must be nice to have a
I
story
remember when
told to
she
you.
said, "Kong bows to no one."
Yeah. Well,
She
see,
said that.
I think that was the way to set you up, thinking Kong was going to win, because
Mm.
Kong bows to no one. Well, Kong, he didn't bow. She was right. He didn't bow to no one. He got knocked the fuck out.
He
Godzilla
almost
was mad.
died.
I mean, yeah, it was scratching the hell out of him. You're like, bitch, I'm Godzilla again. Um, but
Right.
but anyway, it's
It is what it is,
what it
Greg.
is.
It
I know.
is what it is.
And again, it just goes back to when they went down, and they take the heroes down to the center of the earth to find a power thing, and for whatever reason, I still don't know why, they needed Kong to go with them, because again, I think they told us what that reason was. I don't remember, because they were
Because it
talking
seemed like
so
they got
much.
there. It seemed like they got there pretty easily without him.
And then, of course, the main daughter, the Instagram girl, turns on them once they get the energy, because you got to remember that Rebecca Hall was one of those heroes. It's like, oh no, we can't pillage what's here.
Right.
This is natural resources. This is wrong. And of course, they turn the guns. Why do they always turn the guns on the heroes?
And
Because
they
it's
even
the
turned the guns on the little girl, which I'm like, oh wow, is she a ninja? What the hell? I mean, it's
well,
like, but
I think they're saying we're the bad guys, and we want the audience to cheer when we do get killed. I think
well,
that's what they're
which was
saying.
even funnier because when she took the sample from because they had this whole massive floor, right? It looked like a football field,
Yeah,
filled with this powerful energy source, and they
right,
literally looked like it was maybe the size of a Rolaids,
right,
a tube of Rolaids, right?
right,
And
right.
they put that into the robot, and they're freaking out, going, "Oh, you can't take that back." I'm like going, "It's literally the size of a little Rolade thing." But yeah, they freak out, and then they turn the guns on them because they're bad, and they do which is funny because they do the one thing towards the when she tries to escape. They fire at Kong really for no reason.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she just
Why
says
would you
fire
do
at him.
that?
He wasn't trying to stop them even. I don't even know
No,
where
he
that
didn't
came from.
care. Yeah, but nobody threatened him. But they had
Yeah.
to do stupid things to get themselves killed. Oh, we got to mention that she somehow, in the center of the earth, was able to download what she found because Mega Godzilla, the subplot is that Mega Godzilla needs this power energy to power up. But I'm just sitting there like, you know how hard it is for me to download just anything off of iTunes, okay? And we're in the same city
You need 5G, Greg.
in Hollow Earth, and somehow that makes it through with record time that they could copy it and come up with the answer. And then my favorite part was Godzilla's in Hong Kong, not Tokyo, Hong Kong.
Yeah.
We gotta get the Chinese market, even though it would make sense that it would be in Tokyo. Whatever, he's
Right.
in Hong Kong. Then Godzilla fires in the ground.
When Godzilla makes he takes his laser breath or whatever you want to call it, the flaming breath, the nuclear breath,
Right.
makes a hole to the center of the earth, and they can literally look at each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love.
Yes,
You got Kong looking up at him and Godzilla looking down at him. I'm going,
it always went to a thing that I as a kid, I used to hear, like, if you dig, because you lived in America, if you dig a hole all the way through, you get to China. I never thought I would see a movie that actually did that. But, I think we're spending way too much on the plot. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes. What did you think of the fight? What did you think about when they finally met?
they're transporting Kong across the ocean to take him to Antarctica so he can get to,
Right.
Hollow Earth, right? And Godzilla intercepts them, and they throw down.
Hmm.
I think it was fun. It was fun, even though I'm still trying to figure out what the logistics of that are, because
Hmm.
first off, you got this giant creature on a bar on an oil freighter of some sort,
Right.
and they have him chained up on which is miserable because the poor guy is on the
On the
surface of the
boat.
boat on the boat.
You know
He's
he's
getting
getting.
rained
You know he's.
on.
Yeah, he's getting seasick.
And then you got all these aircraft carriers and destroyers and everything surrounding the armada, if you will, going down
Hmm.
through there. So when Godzilla finally attacks and they go at it, they're literally hopping from one ship to
Yeah,
another.
because you're sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute. You have these creatures like giants. You got Kong that's like bigger at times, bigger than any building you've ever seen. So then you said to yourself, well, then how big is this boat that's carrying him? But then you got Godzilla that's even bigger, and yet somehow they're able to still fight on top of some of these boats.
Which
And I kept,
is fun. It's fun, I guess, but
yeah,
at the same time, you're kind of scratching your head, going, "How does that work in physics?" And I
yeah,
and I
yeah.
do and I do enjoy um, the effects. I thought the effects were really well done and things like that,
Hmm.
and I guess the premise of it is really cool, but
Hmm.
you still want your movies somewhat grounded in reality, or at least the physics that you know of.
Well,
Unless, of course, you're watching a Fast and Furious movie, and then physics
oh
go
yeah.
out the window.
Yeah, I know what you mean because in doing that scene, part of me just kept thinking, is all the boats that big or twice as big than Kong? Or like, because there's a sequence where when he's still chained up, the boat overturns. And actually, that was kind of one of the better parts of it. And Godzilla was coming right at him. But then he escapes, and then the boat turns back over.
That was a very resilient ship.
Well, yeah. How do you have both King Kong and Godzilla fighting on a boat, and then they leave the boat, and the boat is still able to float? That's what I was wondering. That's all. But
And
you're right. I did.
how many sailors died in that armada? I mean,
Yeah.
Godzilla himself must have taken out what, 3 or 4 ships?
Tell me about it. But I guess moments like that, you just kind of you check your brain at the door, and you're just like, because
Right.
again, you're really here to see the battle,
It is what it is. Yeah.
and like you said, I mean, I the problem sometimes with trailers for me is they pretty much showed me the scene. So when I
Right.
got to that scene, I didn't think they showed me anything new that I didn't already see in the trailer.
But once again, this convoluted storyline that I felt was so unnecessary about the Hollow Earth and going down there, even though I will say that it was kind of interesting to see that maybe Kong was sort of part of this civilization that lived in Hollow Earth and he had a kingdom.
Right,
But the problem
right,
is you never saw any other gorillas. You never saw any other
or
of his
yeah,
kind down there.
exactly, or skeletons or any remains that would have indicated that that was a part of his kind. But you did get a big chair because he
You got
sat
a
in
big
it.
chair, right?
You
And
know,
and honestly, I mean, because it looked like they built these. I mean, somebody built these temples, right? Um,
right, right.
so they must have built these temples. Is Kong from a higher species of some sort that could actually
Hmm.
communicate? He already knows sign language. So does his ancestors, were they like actually very intelligent? Were they able to communicate to each other, and did
Right,
they have a
right,
language and
right.
society wise, an army? I mean, there's all kind. You could have opened up a whole thing that had been really kind of cool, but there was
Hmm.
no time for that.
Okay, I know.
My head hurts after thinking about that.
Okay, so the third battle or the second battle for those guys, what you think when they were fighting in Hong
Actually,
Kong?
well, Hong Kong got freaking obliterated.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know how
yeah.
much of Hong Kong is left now because
Well, they
they
never showed
fucked
any
that
people.
city up.
You notice too that there was no stakes because they never showed any people in Hong Kong. I mean, really, I was thinking about that. I was sitting there
I
like,
think there
I
was
don't see
one
people.
shot. I think there's one shot, right, where you saw a few people looking like they were running down into a subway or something. They looked like they were running down some stairs, and you
Really,
saw above them some. It was a really quick shot. It was only
I
the only
missed
time you'd
it.
ever. Well, I
Right.
thought the fight itself was fun. I mean, once
Hmm.
again, my 8-year-old inside me probably enjoyed that part.
Right.
where they were fighting and duking it out, and they had some nice moves. They were like busting each other into the skyscrapers, and they
Right.
were
Right.
falling and tumbling down. And I'm just sitting there. I couldn't get my mind around the fact that how many hundreds of thousands of people just died when that when that skyscraper falls into the other skyscraper, and
Yeah.
Kong does a drop kick on Godzilla, and he takes out like 16 skyscrapers. When he slides across the.
Well, I
Yeah,
guess you could kind of assume though that the city was empty because you never saw people. You really hadn't seen anybody in direct danger.
I'm so glad they didn't do this, and I thought I was waiting for it too, and I'm glad they didn't do this. But I thought for sure they were going to go. Well, we put out the word, and we've evacuated the city.
Yeah, yeah.
We've evacuated the city. It's just an empty town now.
You mean they
So
do?
like 20 million people leave Hong
You
Kong.
know they. You mean you're glad they didn't do a Batman v Superman when Doomsday was landing on that one side of the town where it says, no, that's completely vacated. There's nobody on
Yes,
that side, so
nobody
we
on
could
that side of
destroy a lot.
town.
Yeah, we could destroy a lot of shit, and we don't have to worry about the audience complaining about it.
Yeah, they had to do the fight in such a way where Godzilla got one up on Kong when they were at the Armada. And
Mm-hmm.
then the first round when they're fighting in Hong Kong, evidently King Kong got the upper hand because you had
Right.
Skarsgård. He had to actually pointed out the fact that, well, I guess King Kong won that round.
One of my favorite shots is when he had to go get the energy axe because Godzilla's like using the fire blast, and then when he grabs the axe, he literally comes down when Godzilla's blowing his flame, and it he used the axe as a shielded off. That
But then doesn't Godzilla come back and kind of defeats Kong, right? He kind of
well,
defeats
yeah,
Kong.
yeah, because I think at the end of the day, Godzilla woke up and says, "I'm Godzilla, bitch." And he just goes to town on Kong, and even Kong is like,
I don't
"Oh,
let
wait a
no
minute."
monkey take me out.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that? And then I think he would have killed him, but then didn't Kong say Martha? I could have sworn he said
Mothra.
Martha. Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say Martha? Save Martha. I thought I heard Kong say that. But they were gearing you up. That's right, Mega Godzilla appeared, and I guess supposedly he was hooked up to one of the three-headed dragons. But why? Why did they I mean, if they needed the power source to power Mega Godzilla, and you had a man that was inside the robot, why did they need to hook the?
Well, the one guy for comic relief was there to inform us that Hydra, I guess, had some kind of telepathy ability
Mm-hmm.
that they were using to help control Mechagodzilla. But you had, like you
Why?
said, you had the guy.
Yeah.
You had the guy inside the skull, which I thought, well, really, you got to put him inside the skull. I guess because the bone structure or something is. There are a lot of stuff out there that just seemed. Once again, it was that screenwriting where you go, well, we need this to happen. Let's just write it in.
Well, wait a minute though. Am I okay? Am I missing something? Was the guy inside I thought the guy was inside Mega Godzilla. Was he actually inside the skull? Oh,
Now,
Hydra?
it looked like he was inside the skull.
I thought he was inside Mega Godzilla. If anybody out there that's listening knows this, that's seeing
Let's look at that movie
Godzilla
again.
versus King Kong. No, I'm not going to look at it again. But please write in a comment. Was the guy inside Mega Godzilla, or was he inside the skull of the three-headed dragon?
It didn't need to be that convoluted. It didn't need to have all the. I don't know why they felt the need to have all this confusing plot structure in there because it's simple. You got Kong going up against Godzilla. They fight it out. They tear some shit up. Suddenly, there's a bigger nemesis showing up, Mechagodzilla. Now they got to fight him. End of story. Why do you need to go with all this other stuff?
And if you want to put a little nuance in it, okay. It seemed like Godzilla and Kong kind of tied, but then Godzilla, takes out Kong. But then they got to bring Kong back because Godzilla's getting his ass kicked by Mega Godzilla. And then Kong comes back and actually saves Godzilla by helping defeat Mega Godzilla. And then the two have a mutual, all right, you all right,
Respect.
you all
They
right.
respect
A
each
little
other.
mad
Yeah.
respect each other.
Yeah.
Godzilla. Now this is the ending. It still annoys me. Is Godzilla gets a chance to just go where the fuck he wants to go, so he leaves. But then Kong gets back in captivity again. What the what? Why? And I'm like,
he goes back to jail.
Seriously, what kind of mixed message is that? This guy fought for you.
He's home, I guess, but is he free? Is he really free?
No, he's not free. But the movie's a mess. It's again.
It's a fun mess. I mean, I as part of me had fun watching it. Part of me, of course, was going, "This is so stupid," but it didn't need to be. It didn't need to be this. It didn't need to be what it was. It could have been a lot simpler plot wise.
That's so true. And by the way, we buried the lead.
We were in the screening room. One of our buddies was there, and he had his 5-year-old kid with him, and he could not have been more bored of this movie. And I'm just sitting there watching, and he was kind of just off to the side playing because he lost interest in a King Kong versus Godzilla movie. I'm thinking to myself, even when I was a kid at that age, if you'd have taken me to a King Kong versus Godzilla movie, I would have been riveted, right?
He was sitting in the front row of where we were sitting in the screening room. And every time that the people were talking or there was boring scenes, which was a lot, he would look back at us, a 5-year-old, and saying, "How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?" And then I think at one point I said, "I'm bored." And he says, "So am I." 5 years. That was perfect. All right. Well, I think this should be the end of it. Mr. Lee, where should people follow you?
Follow us at Noir the Film on Facebook and Instagram, as well as here on YouTube. We're filmmakers. We're writers. We enjoy films and we enjoy making films. And if you guys enjoy that kind of stuff too, then hang with us and hear us rant for a while.
That's right. Join us for the ride. Now, before we go, Lee, I got another movie quote I just thought of because I know we did a movie quote of the last episode, and someone answered that. So I got another one. I'll be curious to see if you know where this is from. So Let me know if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. You remind me of my father. I hate my father. There you go.
Oh.
Do you know where that's from?
No.
No,
it does sound familiar to me. It does sound familiar. And once you tell me, I'm sure I'm going to go, "Oh, of course." But,
so if you hear this quote, please write in a comment. What movie is this line from? You remind me of my father. I hate my father. There you go. I'll leave you on that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.